Good evening. I know it's a good evening. I've just been out for a half-hour walk. I know it's a good evening. Welcome to this video. This is part one of, well, it's part two, but it's part one. We'll get to that in a moment, of my series of videos of top 10 tabletop role-playing games that aren't D&D 5e and why. In case you don't know me, my name is Ross Hawklord2112 Kingston. I am the proprietor of a fairly large games library and awful lot of dice. I'm Hawklord2112 pretty much everywhere on the internet. I've already recorded and hopefully uploaded the runners-up for this video, and I'm going to do this one in a slightly different format. I'm not going to do the shonky editing. I am just going to do 2 episodes of 5 games. These are in no particular order. And this is my counterpoint to people that say, oh, D&D 5e it's too expensive to learn games that aren't 5e. So I thought, actually, that's not necessarily the right thing. I am putting 5e down, but I'm not slating it. If that's the game that you play, fantastic. If that's the game that's got you into gaming, welcome. This hobby is wonderful, wonderful. And for all that 5e has broadened your horizons to what gaming can be, all of the other games that there are, and there are a lot, will broaden your horizons as to what gaming can do. So stay with me on this journey. Don't know how long it's going to take. Like I say, here we go. I've got the camera in a slightly different position, so I'm actually looking directly into the camera. I've mounted it in front of the screen rather than me looking off to one side, because you can't look into that camera there if you're there on the screen. So yeah, multiple camera arms in no particular order, and I think I'm missing one. I'll get that one down for the next video, so I'll transfer this one across in no particular order. First of part one, do the small format books first, is Break RPG. This one, a very long awaited, from Grey Wizard Press, Naldo Bian Games. This is about 50 quid for the standard edition. Okay, character creation, very good setting, rules, monsters, how to build your own monsters, very good GM advice, travel rules, crafting rules, whatever. Now, if that sounds very, very similar to Fabula Ultima, which is one of the games on the runners-up list, it is. I got Fabula Ultima, I will be brutally honest, and this is no shade on the folks at needgames.it, the people that made Fabula Ultima. I got Fabula Ultima because I was waiting for this. The art style is glorious. Okay, it is super chibi. It is designed to look like an old school game cartridge because it is inspired by old school console RPGs. Think Chrono Trigger, think Final Fantasy, the first few of them, think Suikoden, those sort of things. You have 7 character class callings, which determine your stats, not your race. You have a load of different character races. There are an awful lot of options. The rules use a single D20. Okay, so on top of game photocopies, pens, paper, whatever, you just need a D20 each, maybe 2. You're going to have more than 1 D20 each because it does feature a kind of advantage-disadvantage mechanic. But basically, I've done a dice and bolts video. It's D20, roll above a target number to hit in combat, roll below a target number to succeed when doing a non-combat challenge. Break. Okay, this is one of my darlings. I've been waiting for this quite a while, and I'm about to start a game of this with my Tuesday night group, Thursday night group. We changed nights. That's why nobody was there this week. I was there on the wrong day. Anyway, there's one. The second one, and hold up 2 books, Ironsworn and Ironsworn Starforged. Is it the same game with 2 different skins on it? Sort of, but it's close enough. These are by Tompkin Press, by Sean Tompkin. Tompkin and Meehan on this one. You can actually get the rules for the basic game for free on ironswornrpg.com, and that's like full rules. Beautiful, beautiful. It is what I would consider powered by the apocalypse adjacent. So character sheets, a couple of paper clips, 2d6s, sorry, a d6 and 2d10s for the mechanism. So again, very, very light. And in each of the books, you get character generation, you get world building, you get hella world building. It's part of starting a game is determining your world truths together. You get list of opponents, you get ways to generate your own opponents, you get an awful lot of stories. Downside to this, okay, is that the games, there are cards. Okay, you can get official printed versions of them. You can get PDFs if you're okay printing out and cutting them out at home. You don't actually need them, but they make the game an awful lot smoother. They're your kind of assets and feats and whatever. Ironsworn, the core one, is a game of grim and perilous adventures in a desolate Northlands. While you and your people are in that Northlands, you work out as part of the world building, which you do collaboratively around the table in front of it. Your missions, your sworn on iron vows are very important to you. It's very driving, very character forward, story forward, and the mechanics that are there to back it up. And Ironsworn Starforge is very, very similar to that, but it's in space. So you've got space ships, as well as having the feats and assets that you get in the core book. You've also got the building your ship and put that together. Not massively crunchy, either of these games. Like I say, PDF on this one is free. Core book is about 30 or 40 quid. In the UK, it's available through Modifius. They both are. This one, again, about 40 or 50 quid. So, like I say, decent games if you like your gritty fantasy. Number 3, from Melsonian, Troika. Now, the chances are, if you're in the UK and if you are a role player and you're of a certain age, you've probably played some of the Steve Jackson games, Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone games, fighting fantasy books. Yep. Now, they do have their own role-playing game. This takes that core system, expands it a little bit, adds in a heck of a lot of weird fantasy and an awful lot of world building in one very slim, very straightforward, very beautiful £25 hardcover book. 25 quid. Character generation, world building. Well, there's a lot of world in there. You don't need massively detailed worlds. A starter adventure, a bestiary. This uses D6s. You'll probably need 2 or 3 D6s and some tokens, because what this has is one of the best initiative systems, to the degree that I've taken the initiative system from this and used it in most of the other fantasy games that I've been running, again with the Thursday evening group. It's based on tokens. Other people have done reviews of it, but basically every character gets a token of a unique colour, and every monster gets a token of a unique colour. Characters get 2, monsters get 1, 2, 3, 4 or more per monster, and then there's one unique token which is a different colour again. These tokens all get put into a bag. The bag gets jiggled around a bit. The GM draws tokens out, and that determines whose action it is. So if you've got 2 characters, say 2 blue tokens, 2 yellow tokens, you've got 10 monsters, each of which has 1 action a turn, has 10 white tokens, and 1 red token for the end of round. It means you don't know when your turn is going to come up. You don't know if you're going to get 2 actions next to each other. You don't know if the monsters are going to get all of their actions. You don't know if it's going to be nice and evenly split. You don't know if the monsters are going to get their actions, then the end of round 1 comes out, and players don't do anything. You just freeze in combat. It's wonderful. It keeps people's attentions focused, and it stops phone wandering and that sort of thing. It is weird science fantasy. Think Heavy Metal magazine. Think Michael Moorcock Dances at the End of Time. Think Adventure Time. Come on, tell your friends. Troika. role-playing game. One for the collection, if nothing else, to draw the inspiration out of it. The spell mishap table is brilliant. The way it does combat and damage is quite good as well. Do I go into it? Yeah, combat is an opposed roll. You roll, your target rolls. You both make a combat roll. If you beat your target, say I initiate the violence. I beat my target, I do damage. Nice and simple. But if I don't beat my target, it damages me. So every time you start a kerfuffle, there's a chance you might get hit back. A bit poignant, really, knowing what's going on in the world. Yeah, Troika. 2 more left of this video. Now, this one, Lovecraftesque, from Black Armada. There is a second edition which went through crowdfunding. I didn't manage to get onto it, which is a big box set and everything. This thing uses no dice, no random mechanism. You don't have a character sheet. In fact, no matter how many people you've got playing, there is only one character. Now, this is a narrative forward game of existential horror. It is mythos without saying the C word. It's mythos without anything to do with Lovecraft, although it is mentioned and it's in the name. It is a way of telling a story of a character and a lone participant, called in this game the Witness, and their descent into revelation that there are horrors in the world and beyond the world, and that there may or may not be anything that they can do about it, and they may or may not survive. This has protagonist generation. It has how to play. It's got 10 built-in rule sets. There are some cards which are available as print and use, or you can get them as a deck of cards. Let's say the second edition version of it is a bit more of a board game. Well, it's not a board game, but it's a big box with lots more cards in. But this cost me about 30 quid. Nice and simple. Pens, papers, no dice, a little bit of printing out. Fairly straightforward. If you want to tell stories of horror, this is it, right? You can take Call of Cthulhu, which is actually one of those games that's on my very short list of role-playing games that I will never own. Why would I need to? This right here. And the last one, I'm going to get a drink after these ones before I do the second batch. This is the Index Card RPG. This was 35, maybe 40 quid. This uses standard polyhedral dice. This has character creation. This has settings. This has 2 settings. 3. You have a sci-fi setting. You have a fantasy setting. There's a Weird West setting. There's a vaguely superheroic one as well in there. But 3 really good, really usable settings. This has magic. This has loot. This has some of the best GM advice I have come across. Now, I am the forever, one of those forever GMs. It contains the nugget things like don't prep more than a session in advance. Your players are chaos gremlins. They'll throw you, no publishing ready adventure survives first contact with the player characters, and you can do 30 hours worth of prep and the players are going to go in a completely different direction. This, of all of the games that I'm doing, is probably the closest to 5e, because you have your stats. Strength, dex, intelligence, constitution, those ones. Where it then differs is that it only has the modifiers. So your stat is +1, -1, 0. You then also have your effect dice, D4, D6, D8. D6 is your kind of standard. If you have a tool, if you have a particularly good one, you'll have a D8. If you have a gun, you'll have a D12, a D10. Magic is a D12. And ultimate effort's a D20. That's what you roll when you do things. It's all about hearts. It's great. Hanker Infernal, Runehammer, the printer, the guy that does this, has done a couple of other really good games. He is, I was going to call him style over substance then, but no, his podcast is great. He's got a lot of good thoughts for being a forever GM, and he's very, very good at getting them across, a lot better than I am. So thank you very much. Shout out. Viking Death Squad is another one of his, which is another brilliant game that you can't read it without being inspired. All of the art is black and white Sharpie style art, very stern. Available in the UK via Modifius, again, part of their system. There is a deluxe edition as well, but I couldn't afford it. This, as I said, was about 35, 40 quid and is all in. And if you want to do dungeon crawling fantasy, it'll do that. If you want to do hiking between the stars like Firefly, it'll do that. You can do a mix of both. It's great. Nice and simple. So, there are the first 5 of my top 10 RPGs, in no particular order, that aren't D&D 5e. Hopefully there'll be a link to part 2. Click like, click subscribe, send me a message. If you think there's, if you've played any of these games and you want to give them a big up, give us a shout. Let me know if you've come across the reasons, the same reasons, or if you've got any other opinions. Stay tuned, roll well, and I will be back at some point with games numbers 6 to 10.